Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, and today I got a review for you guys of the Kershaw Bel Air. Now this just isn't a normal run-of-the-mill Kershaw Bel Air. This is the special clip point and micarta version. This is a special release for 2025. Now I gotta tell you guys, this is probably the first review I have ever posted of a knife that actually dropped the year the review dropped, okay? I know that doesn't seem too impressive, but me being cheaper than you think knives, I don't usually have the money to be buying new releases, but Kershaw really made the Bel Air series quite affordable for all walks of life. But I don't want to give too much away. I do want to wait until we get into what I like and don't like. But before we do that, I'm going to move this guy. I put a little earbud piece just to make this guy kind of perfectly nestled under the light there. But anyways, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a size comparison. Let me just say that this version is slightly bigger than the original or normal Bel Air version. And I also should say that I have an XL Bel Air coming soon. So a lot of cool stuff, but I don't want to say too much. Here is the Pyrite, just the normal Pyrite. This is the S90V and Grivery variation. I'm going to move this guy down. I didn't even realize how tall it was in the frame there. Yeah, but there you guys go. The Pyrite's pretty popular right now. It's kind of been popular the past few years, but you guys can see there, yeah, this guy's slightly shorter than the Pyrite. Some other really neat little smaller knives that I think are pretty comparable to this guy, both coming from Spyderco, is the Delica. This guy's slightly taller than the Delica, surprisingly. And then, of course, the knife that I think is actually almost completely identical in size, at least from their specs. Yeah, they're basically identical in size, the PM3. So if you guys like the PM3 and think that that's one of your favorite knives to carry, and it is something that fits your hand very well, you're going to love the Bel Air, especially the clip point version. But I wanted to do something fun with these size comparisons, at least this time around. So I got a couple knives that are clip point based, just because I'm a sucker for clip points. It's the whole reason I bought this knife. I wasn't going to originally buy the normal Bel Air. I didn't love the blade shape, but when it came out in this little kind of clip point version, I love clip points, so I was like, I gotta get it. So here's a Recon 1. This guy's quite a bit smaller than the Recon 1, but a knife that I think is a little more comparable, not by much, but a little more, is the CJRB Prado. This is the full steel S90V version. This is not a big knife. That's why I kind of brought these on. It's funny. They're all three clip points, but obviously they're not the same kind of clip point because they're substantially different in size. But a clip point that's a little closer in size that I actually really like next to this guy is the Tagged Out. The Tagged Out is definitely more of a traditional clip point. But yeah, between these two, I would recommend either. I would say these are both incredible crossbar style locks, and they're both clip points. So they're both kind of recommendable in that same regard. This literally feels and kind of looks in a lot of way like a bigger version of this guy. But those are Rogue Blade Works scales, by the way. I'm pretty sure those are discontinued now, but whatever. Anyways, you guys, I don't want to do too many size comparisons because I always do. So we're going to move on and talk about what I like and don't like about this knife, and if I can recommend it for you guys. And let me tell you, this is going to go very smoothly. I'm also going to rate it at the end out of 1 to 10. I like to do that just to give you guys more of a rough estimate. But here we go. First, talking about the blade, right? So as I said while talking about the size comparisons, I got this version for the fact that it is a clip point blade. I didn't love the reverse Tanto, I think is what it's supposed to be, or Warncliffe or Sheep's Foot, whatever it is. Wasn't a huge fan. It's not that it's a bad blade shape. It really isn't. It's just not as appealing aesthetically to me as this blade shape. So thank you, Kershaw, for dropping this. And I think there was a couple like Kershaw fanboys or whatever that asked for this type of model. So that does kind of show that Kershaw does listen, wants to throw in some more blade shape varieties. I'd love to see a Tanto. That's all I'm saying. And it's non-coated, which is much more different than all their other Bel Airs, which are predominantly all coated. So that's awesome. And I love the stonewash finish on this guy. Not to mention, you guys, fully USA made and using, let me see if I can show it. Let me see. There it is, MagnaCut. I honestly was not on the MagnaCut hype train, but that was only because I had only 2 knives in MagnaCut, and both were Decas, right? So I had this Hogue Deca here that has the custom OG Goat scales, and then this guy right here. And as I've mentioned in the past, I have handled a Sabenza in MagnaCut. I only handled it in the shop. I need to go back and delete that video or something, because the way I explained my run-ins with MagnaCut were not very good. But let me just tell you guys, I handled a Sabenza in a store. It was a dude's Sabenza, and he kind of gave me a rough rundown of the MagnaCut steel. And I got to use the knife. I got to cut with it, and that was cool. But obviously, that's just kind of manufacturing. It's not the actual steel itself. What I can tell you about the steel itself is it's incredible. It is an incredible, incredible steel with a very good toughness, a very good edge retention, and very good stainlessness. Now, this isn't like 20 CV edge retention. This isn't like 3V toughness. And this isn't the stainlessness of LC200N, but it's freaking really close. And its toughness is surprisingly really high. And the edge retention can be really good. That's the thing, and the beauty with MagnaCut is it all depends on the heat treatment. I don't want to get too deep into that because I am not a metallurgist, but these two are actually extremely comparable, and I might do a versus video in the future between the what is this, drop point version of the Deca and then this guy here. But yeah, MagnaCut is a great steel. It's very balanced. It's great for everyday carry. It very much so screams volumes to S30, or screams volumes of like an S35VN, which was kind of notorious for being so balanced, and that's why we saw it on so many EDC knives. But MagnaCut is the new guy. He's the dude that's making waves and has been making waves since Laren Thomas of Knife Steel Nerds dropped the steel. So we really love this steel a lot. I love it. I want to see it more. I know some people are getting a little tired of it. So many companies are dropping new knives like Spyderco and Benchmade, you know, even Buck, you know, have used MagnaCut, Leatherman as well. But it's a great steel. I want to see it more. That's honestly really awesome, and I love it. But blade steel is incredible. Blade shape, coating, everything like that's amazing. It's USA made, and of course the writing is very reminiscent of ZT, obviously them having the same parent company, Kai USA. So yeah, you're seeing a lot of like ZT quality on a Kershaw package. So that's really cool. I do love the thumb studs. They're just basic thumb studs. Remind me a lot of Benchmade's thumb studs, but slightly bigger, so you can get a little more real estate on them. I do appreciate that, but the D10 is pretty soft on this guy, so having a thicker thumb stud actually is really enjoyable and much appreciated, and basically cancels out the fact that it's a light D10. I do love that it's on bearings. If you guys can't hear it, it definitely is on bearings. I do like that. You know, I don't know if there's any Benchmades that run on bearings that have the axis lock. So seeing it from Kershaw, which I think theirs is called like the, I don't want to call it the Able Locks. I'm pretty sure the Able Lock's the one that, I think it might be the Able. I don't know. I'm not going to guess at it. I'm just going to call it the crossbar lock. So I do like the pairing between the ball bearings and the lock here. Again, we don't see that from very many companies. The only companies I've had run-ins like this with is, so far, this one here, Kershaw, and CJRB. So that's pretty cool. I like it a lot. I do like that it is a crossbar style lock, and it does have a pretty substantial stop pin and a pretty substantial crossbar lock bar. So that's nice. I do think that this is a pretty much on par in terms of ease of manipulation as a Benchmade, but the ball bearings just make it so much easier. I have a girlfriend who doesn't really love knives, or she kind of does. She enjoys them, but she doesn't know knives like we know knives. So handing her knives and saying, hey, how do you open it? How do you close it? Maybe I'll show her how to do it and then hand it to her. She got this one with super ease, and she doesn't tend to like crossbar style locks, so that's pretty cool. Moving down, yeah, we got micarta handles, you guys. The original handles were aluminum. I like aluminum handles, you know. I love me a good 940 Osborne, the traditional one with the green handles. And of course, I do love me some OG goat scales, as seen again on that Deca. I love aluminum, but micarta is quite excellent. I need more micarta. I think I only have like 3 knives in micarta, which is just a sin. Micarta is incredible. It's grippy, it's comfortable, and holy moly, does it make your grip feel like you're just bundled up on a cold winter's day. It's so nice to the hand. It's easily the most comfortable handle material I can think of. I'd say it's more comfortable than any steel handle, any titanium handle, and of course, G10 and carbon fiber. So I do love that a lot. I do also like that they gave the variety of it. They also introduced, with this guy, they introduced a blacked out model that had G10 handles. So this knife model with the clip point blade not only introduced a new blade shape to the Bel Air series, but also 2 new handle materials and an XL version that now also has G10 handles. So really cool stuff, a lot of variety in handles, but the micarta is easily the best. Flipping over, we're gonna look at the pocket clip. This is one of the best pocket clips I've seen in a while. Recessed screws, the clip itself might not be recessed, but the screws are recessed, and that makes life so nice. Wish they didn't slap Kershaw on it. I might get into that a little bit later, but the clip's really easy to take off and flip over. It's an extremely nice clip, and it has just enough of a bill to really slip in and out of your jeans, and it has just enough retention that even with a light knife like this, you're not going to have to worry. Which brings me to my next point. This knife is extremely light. It is extremely light and extremely ergonomic. I love the ergos, and I love how light this thing is. It literally disappears in your pockets. I wear this thing with basketball shorts sometimes, and it literally feels like it's not even there. I love that to death. And I also will say that I love that they fully lined this knife. I'm pretty sure the aluminum is also fully lined. If not, then you guys can correct me in the comments. But I love that this guy's fully lined. It gives the micarta some extra rigidity, gives the whole knife some extra rigidity, and I love that. And it's also flow-through construction. This knife not only is never going to stain on you in terms of the blade, but it's also going to be easy to clean out. If you just have some Q-tips and some oil, you can really get in there and just clean everything out, even without taking the knife apart. So right on. I think the last thing I'll talk about is just the jimping here and down here. It's all comfortable, all makes the knife quite nice to handle and use. And disassembly on this guy is extremely easy. Moving on to now what I don't like about the knife, and this is going to be a lot of jumping back and forth between this version and its predecessor, the original Bel Air with the aluminum handles. So I will say with the traditional Bel Air, it's not the biggest thing in the world. Whoa, I am so sorry. Just bumped the heck out of the camera. That's my bad. I just don't know if this knife's size was as planned out as a lot of people thought. And I think the original Bel Air was even worse. I got to see the original Bel Air in person at my knife shop, and it was tiny, and again, didn't like the blade shape. This knife is slightly bigger, but very much so slightly, and it's just still pretty freaking small. I find myself when I'm cutting through material, I either hit my thumb, I hit this little sharpening part down here, the sharpening choil there, or should I just call it a cutout? I don't know. Or I find the blade slipping out very quickly because I'm like, oh, I thought I had more edge than that. Yeah, it's not a lot of edge, it's not a lot of blade, and it's not a lot of knife. Now, I will say, that being said, my hand fits perfectly in this guy's handle. In fact, most YouTubers that I watch that have pretty big hands, it fit on it perfectly fine. I fit in a large to extra large glove, so you can see if I'm fitting on this, if you have a smaller hand than that, or maybe the same size hand as that, you're going to do just fine, unless you got some sausage fingers. I will also say this knife came in extremely dull. I got this knife from a knife center. I got this knife from Knife Center, and honestly, it came super dull. I don't blame Knife Center for that at all. I blame Kershaw predominantly, but they have a sharpening service. If you reach out, they will cover a sharpening under their warranty. So I wasn't too worried about that. I sharpened it myself, though. I got some diamond stones on my work sharp that I used, and as you guys can see, it did pretty good. Made a really nice edge. It cuts like a dream, and it holds that edge for a good long while. Ignore the spit that you just saw. I am getting very passionate right now. But Yeah, the edge is nice now. It sharpened really easily. If you have some diamond stones, MagnaCut's going to be such an easy knife to sharpen for you, or steel rather, to sharpen for you. This knife was very easy to sharpen, and it has a very thin edge. It's very thin behind the edge, which, you know, could be seen as a good or bad thing, but I don't want to get too much into that because that was something that I was going to mention but decided not to because I think that it can be both good and bad. Anyways, yeah, this guy is easy to sharpen, but I wish I didn't have to sharpen it. I like when factories give me a good starting edge that I can just use for maybe a few months, and then when I decide to, I can put my own edge on it, but whatever. I will say the inside of the liners, it may not seem very sharp, but when you're cutting through thicker material with this guy, it makes itself known. There's some hot spots definitely on the inside here that I definitely felt while trying to cut through some cardboard. I do cut through some pretty thick cardboard, I will say. Probably like a 10 millimeter thick cardboard. But, you know, it's still just not very great. I don't like knife handles that get you know, hot spots just from cutting through something slightly thicker. It sliced through it just fine. It's just when you get caught up, it definitely makes itself known that it's going to tear into your hand. Again, not the worst thing ever, but I digress. Regardless, you know, the micarta is going to pick up some staining if you're not careful. Blood, things like that might get extremely difficult to get out. I recommend if you're going to try to clean these guys out, I like to use isopropyl alcohol. I think that's how you pronounce it. I don't know. I may have just sounded like an idiot, but it's cool. I like to use those kind of wipes, usually something that's, you know, as close to 90% as I can get, and just wash the handles down, and it cleans them right up. I've also seen people use certain cleaners to do that. I've seen certain people just use, like, certain types of water techniques. Some people, there's actual, like, micarta cleaner out there that you can use. But regardless, you can pick your poison. Watch some YouTube videos on it. I highly recommend doing that if you own some micarta and you don't know what to do with it. But yeah, going down as well, talking about the lock, of course, I got to mention the Omega Springs. I've had Omega Springs break on me several times. I do live in a bit of a humid environment, so I do find that over time, if I'm not really oiling them regularly, like if I'm carrying the knife 2, 3, 4 days in a row and I'm not oiling the Omega Springs, they're gonna be at high risk to well, break. And luckily with this guy, I've heard very little about these Omega Springs breaking. I've heard Kershaw really lock down some really nice Omega Springs, but they still are susceptible to breaking, even if they are at the best quality. So that's something I do want to mention. I should also mention what I said before with the softer detent. This guy does not have a super hard detent. It's super easy to flick this out. I want to do it right on screen just so you guys can see. It doesn't take a lot to flick this guy out. I'm trying to, oh my goodness gracious. Sorry about that, you guys. I'm going to try to lift you up and flick this guy out just so you can kind of see. Let me back up a bit. It's just not, you know, the best detent. I'm not really presenting this in the best way, but doing my best. Let me grab my little stand here that you guys were perched up on just so you guys can get back to comfortable place. Also, yes, this is my new setup in case you guys were wondering what that looked like. But yeah, this guy is not very hard to whip out because the detent is soft. That kind of scares me when it's sitting in my pocket, and I've dropped this knife before, and literally just from the impact of hitting the ground, this blade went launching out just like so, right at my foot. Luckily, it didn't cut me, but it was a little scary. So there is that. Now, that is going to be the last bad thing I have to say because this knife is incredible. If you don't have a Bel Air, get yourself one. If you like the clip point, get the clip point. If you like the XL, get the XL. If you like the traditional one and the aluminum handles, you know, that's your poison. I don't blame or judge you. This knife is well worth whatever you're willing to spend. It's well worth whatever you're willing to get. It's an incredible knife. It's an easy 9.25 out of 10. You know, if they made it slightly bigger, we'd be talking a lot better. And if the edge maybe came in a little more stock or came in a little sharper stock, I would have been a lot happier. But I'll tell you this right now, this knife in its current configuration, it's 9.25. So with that being said, you guys have a great rest of your evening. Thank you so much for watching. I'm trying to be a little more consistent with my posting. I know I just took like a 2-week break, but we are back. I'm going to have 2 videos posted today, so hope you guys enjoy. Feel free to click the rest of my channel catalog, watch some fun stuff from Cheaper Than You Think. And with that, thank you.